Join me today as we're diving together into Open Great League with my best teams video. 4 teams to analyze. We're gonna check out each individual team in depth. We're gonna check out the strategies and of course check out the core breakers so that you can learn more about the team, more about the meta and what you need to be afraid of so that you can overcome that obstacle and eventually win any battle even against the worst case scenario. So in today's content we're gonna have 0 of those annihilate teams only because I want to make a separate video on that, and most probably it's gonna be a best teams video. Perhaps that video is already up there, so if you want to watch it much earlier than the rest of the people and be extra prepared for Open Great League, all you have to do is to go ahead and become a member of my channel. This way not only you help me, but also at the same time you can watch early content which can be kinda a game changer for you. So with that said, now let's see what we have for the first team composition as the battle is about to end as it seems, and we're having a Quagsire up in front while at the back a pretty bulky backline is gonna take over. As a core breaker here I have Ferrothorn and I want to start from there. So obviously you're afraid of grass types with your Quagsire and Ferrothorn is no different. So what makes the Ferrothorn any different from the other grass types is because of its steel typing. With that steel typing it can still do a lot of solid work to the backline, which is kinda scary, but overall nothing that you can manage because even with a couple of mud bombs this Pokemon is gonna be on a pretty low HP scale, so you can definitely work around that Ferrothorn third, especially if you have some seals. However, this Ferrothorn can also learn the move Thunder, which can be super effective to your backline. That's why I have it here as a core breaker. It's gonna be a core breaker, but not that much of a harsh one. You can definitely overcome it with a little bit of synergy between your picks. As you can see here, Quagsire in general is pretty weak to those grass types, obviously, so the backline is gonna come in kinda clutch on that factor. You got a flyer on the face of Mandibuzz and of course another anti-grass Pokemon, but this time part water. So we're looking at a pretty strong ABA team style, but of course the second water type can easily take out any other grass type. You name it, you call it, and we can finish it off. Something like a Serperior, no problem at all. Toxapex can still emerge victorious even from that battle. So we're looking at a pretty cool team. I believe that you can rely a lot on those charge attacks with this line. This is the main key element of this team, and especially when you have Dark Pulse on your Mandibuzz, you have nothing to worry about. Don't go for foul play, you already have a pretty spammy move like a Aerial Ace, and with an extra snarl or almost an extra you can get there to that double Dark Pulse, so you're gonna be just fine. This team is pretty strong. This is gonna be a perfect start for the video, and now let's move forward into team number 2. This season was a big buff for a lot of Pokemon, and 2 of those Pokemon are Vigoroth and Poliwrath. Those 2 fighters are gonna be absolutely insane on the offensive part, but defensively not so much. It doesn't matter because for the bulk of this team your Deoxys is gonna make up for it. Most probably you are never gonna use a shield on your Deoxys. You want to use this Pokemon as a punching bag. Always farm up to a double Psycho Boost, sometimes throw your Thunderbolt, but most of the times you're gonna throw your first Psycho Boost and then clear the debuff while keeping that second Psycho Boost for the end game by switching out. So your main safe switch for this team is going to be Poliwrath. The reason I'm not gonna use Vigoroth, which is also pretty neutral on the meta, is because of Poliwrath's ability to get to those Icy Winds or the Scald for extra damage, but at the same time you can apply those debuffs. Icy Wind can guarantee the debuff, while Scald will have a higher damage output but will get the chance to debuff the opponent. So overall Poliwrath is pretty strong for the meta, and that's why I recommend this team as it is for you. If you want to replace something, perhaps you can add an Obstagoon by switching your Vigoroth out of the way, but I don't think that you can replace anything else. Perhaps an Annihilate, but we're gonna check that out on a different video. As a core breaker here, Trevenant is gonna emerge as a pretty strong Pokemon, but I'm not seeing a lot of Trevenants. I cannot predict a lot of Trevenants, to be fair, because of how many bad matchups this Pokemon individual is gonna have throughout the entire Open Great League format. So with that said, the core breaker of this team is still gonna be Trevenant, but you can totally play around it with a lot of synergy coming up from your team. You can easily go for the Psycho Boost, clear it out, or just switch out immediately to your Poliwrath, try to debuff it with an Icy Wind, or just bring your Vigoroth at some point in and absolutely finish it off with a Rock Slide. So that is gonna be all about this team. Now let's move forward into team number 3. This team could easily be something like an Ultra League nightmare if we had Gliscor in the place of Gligar, but since we got Gligar, obviously we're looking at the Great League format team, and this particular team is severely strong. If you have very good IVs, your Gligar would most probably have no weakness out there besides the Ice types. And if you also happen to face something like a Quagsire, something like a Whiskas, something like a Swampert, you can still finish off that individual Pokemon with your moves. So yeah, Gligar is pretty strong against anything besides those Ice types. Now at the back we have two pretty bulky Pokemon, and that's why I talked in the start of this team showcase about Ultra League, because this backline is an Ultra League staple, and of course you can always count on it when we're talking about damage output, because not only you can get there to the nukes, but at the same time you can use this individual backline as your whole punching bag. So we're looking at a team that can suck those moves in combination with your shields, and of course answer back with some heavy nukes. So definitely a team you can rely on. Also, what I like about this team composition is that we have an amazing synergy, because we're looking at a team that both Gligar and your Cresselia can protect your Registeel from those fighters, which is pretty great. And with Future Sight on your Cresselia, we are looking pretty strong even against fire types, which is a must have for the current state of Open Great League. At the same time, you can carry the legacy move Grass Knot on your Cresselia, but of course you can always count on your Moonblast if you do not have the legacy one, because your Cresselia is still gonna be kinda a dominator for the entire meta of Open Great League. As a core breaker here, I have added Alolan Sandslash only because of its ability to get to those icy moves against our Gligar, and has a positive matchup with those Drillers against your Registeel. The Metal Trascan though can answer back with a Focus Blast for the one shot, or you can just go ahead and go with a little bit of extra synergy with a Dig, perhaps two, or just go with your Cresselia for some cheap damage, because in the end of the line, whatever that the Sandslash is gonna finish off, it is gonna be a soft win for it, which means that the next Pokemon that can easily come in and absolutely farm or just finish it off if they have spent a lot of shields in the process. This is my final team recommendation for today's content, and we're talking none other about that Toxicroak. So Toxicroak with Shadow Ball and Mud Bomb, of course, is gonna emerge victorious against other fighters and has a lot of action, especially under shielding, even against the worst possible scenario, let's say against something like a Whiskas for example, because you might lose in the end game, but still you can provide so much damage with the counters, or at least provide some pressure with at least one Mud Bomb or even the Shadow Ball for the nuke. We're looking at a pretty scary team, and the main reason behind its success is to switch out aggressively to your Lickitung, draw out the fighter or the Galarian Stunfisk, I don't know, so that then your Bastiodon will emerge victorious against whatever remains at the very end back. So we're looking at a pretty scary team. This team can also provide a lot of pressure with the fast attacks, which is pretty great. You do not need to pressure for that shield sometimes, since you can actually go ahead and finish off your opponents with some heavy fast attack pressure. What I like about this team as well is its ability to suck some moves on the backline, and of course Lickitung can somehow beat even the fighters if they are not careful, so they need to sacrifice some energy in the process, which is pretty great for your Toxicroak to farm up whatever remains of that fighter much easier, and at the same time you can get those shields out of play. Bastiodon now remaining at the very end, at the back end, will be an amazing option because of how good it can go at any Pokemon that is not either a ground type or a fighter. So with that in mind, you have nothing to worry about. This team is the perfect team to draw out that ground or that fighter, so that you can easily finish off whatever remains with your Bastiodon. Even against a neutral scenario, I could always rely on my Bastiodon to finish off whatever remains at the very end. As a core breaker here, we're having Basil only because of its ability to be a bug type Pokemon, which means that it can resist those counters and of course the Mud Bomb. And the only move that we can throw on this Pokemon is either gonna be the Flamethrower or just go with back-to-back Body Slams or even the Shadow Ball from our Toxic Rock. Basil though is not a Pokemon that we're seeing that often in Open Great League, so would not be that worried about this one. So that is gonna be all for today, trainers. Thank you for watching and for staying till the end. Just be sure to leave a huge like before you go, subscribe to the channel, and over here I have 2 videos for you to check out. Feel free to check them out and I will catch you up later into the next one.